popular nomenclature.
Oh.
Great word, Aaron.
Word of the day.
Nomenclature.
Binomial nomenclature.
Binomial, huh? Interesting. Why binomials?
Binomial nomenclature. That's like Homo sapiens.
Yeah.
Homo
Okay.
sapiens.
Gotcha.
It's
Did
genus.
you mess with this chair?
Genus species.
Maybe.
How
I don't
badly
think
did you
so.
mess with this
I
chair?
don't really know. My chair was in use, so.
Where's the use?
Huh?
Nothing. Did you loosen my microphone?
I don't think I participated in any such thing. Although if you'd like to fix it.
So for the viewers,
Or
I
up
just
here.
realized
It's up
that
here.
this is the Stranger Things people. I thought it was the Village people this whole time.
My gosh.
Like
Young
YMCA
man.
people?
Yeah, yeah. But like in
What
street
would have
street
made
clothes,
you think that?
in street clothes, because not everybody dresses
There's-
like a construction worker all the time.
Right.
Because there's well, if anybody would, I would think they would, right? The Native American headgear.
Right.
Headgear,
Or cowboy.
Yeah.
Cowboy.
Military man. The popo with the visor.
Fun to stay at the...
YMCA.
Welcome to the Maven Show. I'm Aaron Hoffman. With me are Josh Malone and Jeremy Brown.
Hello.
YOLO.
Jeremy Brown repping the Nike gear, right?
Yep.
We're going to talk a little bit today about Phil Knight, co-founder of Nike. Super interesting dude.
Oh,
The
yeah.
book Shoe Dog.
It was a good one.
Yeah,
Good one.
and I've read like a third of it at this point, something like that. But I think you guys nerded out on it, right?
Oh, yeah.
It was very good. Very good.
I passed that test immediately. Yeah.
It's
I think you were busy like having a baby or something
That happened.
while I was
Yeah,
listening to
right.
it. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, not you, but yeah.
right. My wife delivering
Right.
baby number 4, little Sadie. So she's doing great. But
Good.
Yeah. So we wanted to get some stuff. We wanted to get this started today, talking about. Josh wrote an article. Did a bunch of research, wrote an article regarding how the market's been doing around us, because the housing market has been a little bit strange
It's a little
around
weird.
Oklahoma City
it's a little
area.
weird. We've been a little slow in getting out this episode because it's like just multiple offers everywhere. A lot of clients, a lot of people looking to buy houses right now. Yeah, so it's interesting because I think a lot of people think that because of what's happened with the economy, the Dow down so many points, and then
Job
just the
loss,
uncertainty, yeah.
unemployment stuff that's happened, stuff that's happened with COVID.
Yep.
All that. Yeah.
I think people assume that everything's shut down.
Yeah.
That everything's done. And people assume that when the stock market is bad, real estate is bad too, right? And I know we talked about this earlier in the year or whatever, but this is basically proving the whole thesis that they really are not linked. If anything, real estate, a lot of economists believe like real estate's the thing that's going to actually bring us out of the drop that we had from all the travel industry and stuff shutting down and everything slowing down. Because it's so active right now that, it's probably going to help save the economy. So sell your house and save the economy. That's
part.
really good.
Be a team player.
Yeah. But basically the thesis of this article, we sat down and looked at some numbers one night and we're just kind of like checking out stats on the market and just kind of browsing around. And it was so compelling. I was like, people do these market updates all the time and they kind of drive me nuts. But I'm like, I have to write this because it's basically the best time in a decade to sell your house in Oklahoma. So what happened was we were starting out, the last several years have been getting busier and busier, right? Stuff's
What did it,
since
how many
2015.
did we have? What was it statistically? There was like the available number of properties, and was it residential? on this number that had like over 10,000 5 years ago? I mean, it was like 12,000.
So it was the number of active listings, right?
What was
so
the number of active listings? I couldn't remember.
So in January summer of 2010, it was something around 14,000, right? Of residential active listings, single family homes.
It's 10 years ago.
10 years ago. Now that number is down to something like 7,000, and really it actually dropped recently too. So,
yeah, and that's for listings that were entered in the Oklahoma City area,
right?
MLS,
right? Yeah, this is from the Oklahoma Association of Realtors data set, basically.
So that's in the last 10 years. It's decreased
from
number of actives of about 14,000 to just under 7.
Yeah,
now in the last 10 years,
exactly. Now, and so what basically happened when you look at the data, if you look at the number of new listings that showed up on the market, so spring buying season is always like people come back from spring break, they list their house April to May, and then it sells in June. There's a big spike in June, kind of maybe slows down, and then everybody tries to go before the end of the summer. So summer is always seasonally when most of the transactions happen because it's between school years. Right. So it's something like, usually you've got 3,500 sales in a month in the summer, whereas during the winter it's like 1,700. So it's a pretty substantial.
About half
it's a pretty substantial difference. So what happened was this year was starting off to be actually a really strong year. So like January and February were 100, 200 houses more than there were last year, like being listed onto the market.
Okay, at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
And then coronavirus hits.
Yep.
And everybody freaks out. Everything shuts down. Everybody's like, we don't know how to handle this. We don't know what this is. All that kind of stuff. And so in between April and May, the number is there were 929 fewer homes listed in April, May of 2020 than in 2019. Now, based on how hot everything was going, it looked like we would actually beat that number. But it's at least that number of houses that the market was expecting to show up that didn't show up.
Almost 1,000, just over 900 houses that you would have looked at it statistically for how the year started in 2020 and been like, you would have projected, this is a number that we would have had. Do you remember what that would have been right around the time?
How many we would have had on the market at that time? I'm not sure exactly.
But it was over 900 houses short of what it probably would have had had it been normal year, not COVID-19 and all the things
following kind of the
that.
typical pattern of when they time and how they come on the market. And again, that's 929 compared directly with last year, which it was looking like this year was going to be better than last year.
Oh wow! So it could have even been.
It could have even been more.
It could have been right. It could have been closer to that $1,000 or that $1,000 that 1,000 number.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So and then the second piece of what happened was, in June we saw this recovery happen. Right. So finally, it's really like early to mid-May that the governor removes a whole lot of the travel restriction and the emphasis on quarantine kind of stuff. Right. And so the governor basically lays out this plan of this gradual every 2 weeks, 3-phase, 4-phase, kind of thing. And then the immediate reaction from buyers was, let's go buy a house.
Totally.
Because it's a low contact endeavor, right? Compared with like going to a restaurant or going to the mall or something like that. You're literally exposing your family to one other individual and then whoever's house you're in.
And there were several measures that people started taking with like the hand sanitizer, the wearing the masks, the booties on the
gloves,
feet.
Booties,
gloves,
things,
So to where showing houses, it was like maybe you limited to a certain number of people who were entering and exiting a house for a showing. Right. So there were like procedures that were immediately put in place where people, as soon as it was like, hey, let's start to get back to whatever the normal thing was at the time. It was like, let's do this rollout where it's like more and more progressive restaurants would start to open, salons would start to open. And that began, people just immediately flocked to, let's go buy a house.
Oh yeah. No, it was like a popular thing to do. because frankly, it's some of the main shopping you're even able to do at the given time. Because
well, and interest rates are still
that's
stupid
exactly
low.
right.
That was
It's
another
historically low interest rates.
I mean, there's people even right now, when we're recording this, there's people who are getting 2.99 interest rates.
Right. Oh yeah.
We have a family right now with a 2.85.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just
No.
it's
Insane. Like
No,
insane.
it's incredibly low.
I thought we'd never see anything like we saw in 2015. I mean, I never thought we would see that low again.
Oh yeah.
So,
No. Because when we started in 2015, in 2014 when I got my mortgage, it was like 4.75, and that was a fine score at the time. You're like, what? That's half.
Oh, yeah.
Half of the interest.
Oh, yeah.
So, so basically, what you see in the data is in June there's this huge spike, right? So everybody goes and finds a house in May, and then they're closing in June. This huge spike in the number of sales, right? To where it jumps up even higher than most normal years, right?
Yeah,
and it's like obviously compensating for the gap where
the buildup.
Yeah.
It's like a buildup, and all of a sudden the buyers we can actually go look at houses and purchase a house.
Exactly. But what you don't see on the number of homes listed, you don't see that spike yet.
Doesn't recover.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what we're actually seeing is the number of active listings are dropping to a level that we've never seen since we've been in the business.
Yep. That's right.
To where it's like usually there's a number that's always like 5,000 plus. Anytime you pull up the residential MLS, and it's like down to like 4,600 of number of listings around the market, like this second.
It's 45.
Kind of thing.
Yesterday I checked, it was like 4504.
Right.
It's just,
and so it's dropping and basically needs to recover. I don't like super hot markets because they in the long run, if they last for a long time, they turn into bubbles, and that is just bad for everybody.
sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, and you get certain markets that keep it up for years, right? So my brother is a real estate agent. My oldest brother is an agent out in Columbus, Ohio.
Yep.
Their market's insane. Like, it's one of those hipster market. A lot of millennials want to be there, similar to like Austin or Portland, that kind of a place. And that the competition for some of those neighborhoods and some of those areas is just like the kind of appraisal coverage, like guaranteeing, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 over the appraised value of the house.
Yep.
Because there are 15 offers in a weekend, and buyers like quitting because they're just sick of like losing out on deals. So we're not that at all.
Right.
But we're still hotter than I like us to be, because it's like you just don't want that in the long run. When is that going to come back down? Right. You see that in cycles in every market. You see the up and you see the down.
I feel like at this point, I still feel like that we'll stabilize.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of like the timing of it. You could see where there's so many people who are buying right now, and then it will start to slow down again with whatever happens with the school year starting. It'll start to slow down again. We'll get through the winter months. We'll get through the election year and how that impacts the housing market too. Yep. And we'll get to the other side of this. And what I would guess, just throwing this out here, is just I think next spring is going to be bonkers for the number of people who are actually selling.
Yeah.
By the time that we actually stabilize and recover, it's like that.
They may not. Sellers may not decide. Okay,
I don't think it's going to be. I don't necessarily believe it's going to be something that we'll see play itself out before the election. And if it's not going to play itself out before the election in terms of like recovery,
right,
then it's not going to happen before January.
Right.
And if it's not going to happen before then it's going to carry into the spring.
Right.
So I think we're going to be sitting here and being like, okay, now that it's March, we're going to start seeing a huge number of listings that it would be a lot higher than we would probably even project based upon previous
for
data
like last year's or something. Yeah. No, and that's probably very, very possible in how
for
it gets
now. That's
out.
what I think it could play out.
I mean, but what it means for people in the meantime is for buyers, you've just got to be prepared to be more competitive with your offer.
Super aggressive.
I mean, it's insane. Like, we're going to talk about this in a minute, like the kind of offers that we've had to make with people. Yeah. But for sellers, what that means is like, if you want to sell your house like fast and for top dollar in your area, like now is a terrific time, because there's not competition. Like, people are falling all over themselves to get your house.
Oh, yeah.
In most cases, that's true, especially
fewer houses to compete against as a seller, but you still see a large number of buyers. It's
Exactly.
like that pin-up demand that's occurred. We've seen that play out over the last month and a half.
Right.
It's there.
Oh, yeah.
And so you're much more likely to get multiple offer situation on your place. And not only that, but however you want to transition into whether you want to get a bigger house, whether you want to downsize, whether you want to get something new versus something that you've lived in that's taken more maintenance and work, you can get into a place at historically low interest rates.
Exactly, which makes any house on the market a discount.
That's exactly right. So for the person who's in a position, and hopefully you haven't been as affected as some of these people who've experienced layoffs and stuff that we've seen. But if you're in a place where you're like, over the next couple of years, you were looking at, I'm going to sell so that I can get into this kind of living arrangement now. Yep. Now is the time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, now is the time to actually do that, to pull that off, because the numbers, what you're going to be able to buy and the price that you're going to be able to pay for the house that you get is going to be phenomenal.
Yep.
And you're going to get top dollar for the house that you're selling. This is another thing that is a little bit unique, that this could be just assumptions on my part. But when you have this simple supply and demand occurring, we've seen with the housing market around the Oklahoma City area at this point, I would think where we would see typical appreciation value increase of anywhere from 1.5% to 3%, typically, from what we see in a neighborhood, right?
Yeah, 1 to 6, 3 being kind of the
some
typical.
of them, where it's going to be substantially higher. There's one that I know of. Okay, there's one that I know of that sold for, a certain amount of money. I'm just going to say certain amount of money just 2 years ago, right? And we were in a multiple offer situation where we ended up not getting it, right? But we offered what would have netted the seller almost $25,000 more than what they paid for the house 2 years prior.
Right. Which is insane.
Which is crazy. The appreciation, and it's likely going to appraise for whatever it was purchased for. Just because when an appraiser comes out there and they look at that in the situation where, look, you got 7 offers on your house in 48 hours.
Right.
More often than not, they're going to take that, into account when they give an appraisal value. So, there are going to be weird instances where an appraiser is going to try to fight that.
Sure,
but you know what?
Some activists in there.
Yeah, sometimes that happens, but I think most of them they can be pretty understanding of, the situation that people are in when they're trying to buy a place at this point.
Right. Because they see the how intense it is too.
So you're going to see this, all of a sudden, something that your neighborhood is going to have a comparable property on a house for you that will have sold, that's going to increase the value and the appreciation value in your home substantially higher than it would have in a normal year.
Right.
So I just think you're going to see an increase in value for entire neighborhoods.
Oh, yeah.
Because of appraised value that these houses are getting, that are going multiple offers and selling.
Right. And that's ultimately kind of supported by, every now and then you get a cash buyer who comes in there who can actually just pay it, doesn't require the appraisal, and that helps to continue to set the bar higher for what then, other ones can come afterwards. Or if an appraiser knows it is multiple offers, they'll make it work.
The tendency
because the market
is
kind of showed up to buy the house. Yeah.
Right. That's they end up having to argue. They end up having to make arguments for why you don't substantiate multiple offers over list within this 48-hour window. And it's I think it's not every one of them, but plenty of appraisers are going to look at that and be like, do I want to make this argument so that the value is a lot lower than it should be? You will get some who do that.
Right.
But they look at situations where they have to buy homes.
Right.
You have to be able to buy a house. And when the supply is as low as it is.
Yep. That just basic economics means
it's basic economics that we're functioning in here. So
price, so quit hoarding supply.
Yeah, so
list your house.
We've got
call us. List your house
if you can. It's a great reason to do so right now with what you can sell your place for.
Oh yeah, no, and the other couple data points or whatever are like the inventory, the amount of houses in the market is the lowest today that it has been in the past decade, and it's been a continuous kind of like stair stepping down over the years.
Right,
but it is like. Then at the end, it's like,
that's right.
Like it is low right now. And so it really is if the last couple of years have been good years to do it, this is an even better year to actually sell your house and get top dollar. The other thing is like time on market is near record lows. The time on market for the average single family residential house in the OKC metro is 10 days on market.
Wow.
Like the average, which means over half of them are less than 10 days on market. Like it's stuff selling in 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, all the time. Many of them 0 days.
There was actually one that I saw that popped up in Hera the other day. So 4065 12 Oaks Drive in Hera.
Okay.
I saw it hit the market 6 hours later, pending. Just so it had to be a fantastic offer, whatever their offer was. But 6 hours later, the house was pending.
Oh yeah.
Yep. I'd believe that.
No, that's just, and there's countless situations we've gone through. We are fortunate enough that we actually had a weekend recently where each of us won.
It was great.
A multiple offers, highest and best situation in the same weekend.
3 in a row, competitive. Yeah.
So that was phenomenal. But each of us has experienced multiple offers and highest and best where that has not been the case.
Yep.
Where we're talking about offering things that are like $7,500 net over list price and not getting it.
Oh yeah.
Like I saw somebody posted the other day, another agent who had posted a $10,000 offer over list and not get it, a $16,000 offer over list and not get it.
Yep. No, I mean that 10. So you were thinking 7. I've got some folks who are closing this week actually, who they had to make. They were on their third offer. They had almost no closing costs.
Yeah.
They were on their third offer. Yeah. The first one that they tried to get, they literally offered $10,000 above list price.
Yeah.
And the agent's response was, "Oh, you just have to wait to see what this is." I'm like, we just offered 10 over list. What is it, 25? Like, I don't even understand what. How crazy that offer must have been to get that kind of a response.
Well, and sometimes you're not even guaranteed a multiple offer situation. I know we had a family that had an offer in on a house. We had a full list price offer in, no contingency. The house had been on the market for less than 8 hours.
Yeah.
And we didn't even get a notice of multiple offers. The sellers took another offer. They just took another offer.
Yep.
So you can't, you can give what people are asking and not be guaranteed that you're even going to get the chance to go
even
higher.
without asking for closing costs or
no
anything
closing
like that,
costs. 30-day closing, or maybe a little quicker than that. It was a good offer. It was a solid offer, and not a solid offer right now.
Yeah, and this is something I know that on the ones we've seen that are most successful when we have a situation that's highest and best, and we're representing the buyer. Mm-hmm. The ones we've seen when we're as aggressive as we can possibly be, like we're as aggressive as we can possibly be, as long as the buyer is comfortable with the numbers, right? Because you review here's what your monthly payment's going to be.
Right.
Like if something weird happens on appraisal and you review that, and there's this renegotiation over closing costs based upon what it appraises for. Yep. Are you comfortable with taking this on? And we have that discussion, and you're as aggressive as possible. It's hard because you're inclined to think I'm getting a bad deal on this house.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Right. But the truth of the matter is, just taking into account the current interest rates that we have right now, it's like in the long run, it's really about winning the house.
Yep. Oh yeah.
So as long as you're still comfortable with those other figures when you're able to review it, be as aggressive as you possibly can be. Review the numbers, be comfortable with it, but that's what you have to do. And we're talking about things where you got to be $10,000 to $15,000 over list price on so many of these situations right now.
Oh yeah, and not even on high priced homes. Like the 10 over that we lost was like in the 150s range. Yeah, and it's like that's a cheap home right now.
No, that's right.
So no, I mean, but so many people lose sight of that. Like the point you were making there of. When you think about getting a good deal or winning a negotiation, right? If it's with one other individual, okay, you're trying to like haggle them and get them down and like fighting over an apple at the market or whatever. You're trying to get them to come down on their price and beat them up and whatever. When you're competing with multiple buyers that you're having to like scream over and say, no, I'll pay this and get that. When you get it, you won.
No, that's right.
And you have to be okay with that.
Yep.
Yeah. You still have to be Listen, we have to take on responsibility as we do this to help buyers to review those numbers and really try to give them as accurate a picture as we possibly can. Like we have to take on some of the responsibility to do that.
Oh yeah.
And then also to take on the responsibility to help them understand. It's like the learning curve here. You just don't have time to try to fight over, that $2,500 or $3,000.
Because
like there really is
because it's hours. They have hours to make the decision of I'm going to overpay for a house is what it feels like.
No, that's right. It's hard not to feel that way. But the truth of the matter is we look at the market all the time. Like we pretty obsessively review the market and what comes on and how quickly it sells and what. And so we study that and seeing all these different data points that you've talked about and having experienced this now over the last 5 years, we can look at it and say, with a pretty good amount of certainty, the way that something's going to play out.
Right.
And we try to help advise them and say, hey, this is how aggressive you're really going to have to be to have a chance at this.
Yep.
And it's hard for people to be comfortable with that, but that is actually, we're in the middle of it.
Yep.
That's just what's occurring right now. You have to be super aggressive with
if
the offer.
If you want to buy a house, you had better be competitive. And I mean, this has always been our shtick of like, what we kind of built our business around hot homes and like competitive homes and trying to be the best performing team that,
trying to find the best.
Homes.
It's going to be the ones that don't last long.
Same day showings, hey, we're seeing the house, sending it to them, like really fast kind of stuff. And so it is. You hear stories of people of like, yeah, I wanted to see that house, but I couldn't get it scheduled for like 4 days.
You're never going to get the good house.
You're never going to buy it. Like that's a piece to the game plan where you have to have the help and the agent who's going to be able to move quickly. Yep. It's part of why you need to be working with a buyer's agent, which it doesn't cost you anything to work with a buyer's agent. It's completely free for you. It gets paid by the seller of the house you purchase. Yep. First time home buyers out there, you need to know that.
Yay.
But the reason you need to already have an agent lined up, already have your pre-qual letter lined up from a solid, reliable lender is because when the house hits, you have no time. Like you have to have all those details worked out so that house hits, you're in, you make the offer, you've already got your pre-qual letter, and you're competitive.
Yep.
Anything else is you're screwed. You're not going to get the house that you're looking at. Yeah.
Yep.
No,
and there are a lot of people who hesitate to get those other ducks in a row, but it's like now more than ever, you've got to go get those ducks in a row or else you're just spinning your wheels even looking online.
This is something like even just the principle itself. It's like time does not necessarily bring about a solution or clarity.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's not near as powerful a tool of doing that as information is.
Yep, absolutely.
And it's like people arming themselves. It takes work to do it. And this is part of whether to be a good agent, you got to take on the responsibility to do this. But it's about actually getting the correct information so that you can make an educated decision.
Absolutely.
It's not about time is going to solve.
Absolutely. And and if you get the right information, you can take a process that would have taken you months and months and months and like all this time, and it like gets flattened into like a couple weeks.
People I've been able to talk to recently where it's just this is an incredible time to sell and buy. And they're not familiar with things like a bridge loan. And they feel stuck because they might have to do a contingency.
Yep.
Right. Yep. And they feel like, okay, well, I've got to sell my house in order to purchase this place. But if they have enough equity in their home, just get a bridge loan, disconnect the transactions. So
that you can compete. Yeah. No,
so many people aren't familiar with it.
That's another thing too, is with people who have contingencies and have to sell their house right now, it's hard because they're like, oh, stuff's moving so fast. And I've got a listing that we've currently kind of turned down. I mean, we're still on good terms, but turned down 2 contingency offers like on my listing
for sure
this week.
Yeah, right.
Because we know there's so much traffic. Like either one of you guys is going to actually get under contract first.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you're going to be a real deal, or we're just going to wait till we get somebody who's actually just willing to pay cash or willing to do the normal, financing like that kind of
they
thing.
Don't have to go through the, hey, let's make sure, let's hope that your transaction actually comes through so that we can close on ours and all the things that are connected with that.
And a contingency that's already under contract is one thing, but if it's like you want to just sit in have the first right to kick somebody off or whatever, basically that's going to cost me an extra 24 hours with my next buyer. Yeah. It's like, okay, maybe not.
Well, recently, I mean, you can talk about your own experience with this, but recently it's been, since like the last month, I probably talked to a dozen people who they've got enough built up equity in their current house that they would need to sell to use a bridge loan, but they're not even familiar with the existence of a bridge loan as an option, so that you can disconnect the transactions and you don't have to put in a contingency offer on the house that you're looking to buy.
Yep.
So,
oh yeah. No, and unlinking those transactions is critical because like, there are different ways to do it. So you've got those people who you have to have over 80%, 20% equity in the house. And so it's anything above 20% that you can borrow. So say you have like 30% equity, you could borrow 10, that kind of thing. So you have to have quite a bit of equity. If you don't have a lot of equity, you have to find a way to unlink the transactions if you can, or be okay with, like you were saying, not knowing what kind of house you're going to get, or the exact house that you're going to get. So I have a guy who's basically saying, I'll sell my house first and then, move in with somebody short term, if he has friends, if he has to.
Because it's one of those scenarios, man, that's just when you see what is coming up on the market 4 or 5 times a month, statistically, you can look at a month over the last, let's say the last 6 months, and you see we have anywhere from 3 to 5 occurrences of this house coming on the market. That's the kind of place that you will want.
That's right.
Then, okay, you can probably rest assured that you're going to find a house that you will be very happy with.
Yep.
If you'll just list your house for sale.
Yep. Many times, even once you get under contract. So it's like you list your house, you get under contract. Well, that's a very different contingency offer. Like when your house is about to sell.
It is.
And you may even be able to identify the right one, not even rushing it, like during that period.
Right.
Because so many of them are coming and going. They're just not lasting very long. They're still coming and going. They're just not lasting very long.
Yep.
So.
No, that's right.
Yep.
So that's all very important stuff to understand regarding our housing market right now around the Oklahoma City metro. But we should probably transition into talking about some more important things than the housing market, right?
Things that are more essential to day-to-day life.
Now it's time to argue about something that really matters.
That's right.
Yep. So I think that's what we're calling this segment. Let's argue about something that really matters. So these are going to be different statements or questions, right? That you can listen to the statement, you can agree with it, or you can argue the opposing points. You can hear the question, and you can pick a side.
I feel like Jeremy's going to really be like elite level at this, at least with.
You did debate, didn't you? In school, you did debate?
I'm a sophist, yes.
You are a sophist.
Wow.
Yes. I can affirm or negate anything.
Let's test that theory.
So the first one we're going to start with here, listen, some of these, it's just like there's an obvious correct opinion to have on the matter.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely.
So the first one here, we're going to start with, here's the statement. There's no correct way to hang a toilet paper roll. Would you agree with that statement? There's no correct way to hang a toilet paper roll, or would you disagree, and why?
Man, I was literally about to say I disagree, but then I thought of a scenario. Okay, so let me lay out my thought process, right?
I'm going to disagree with you, but go ahead.
Okay, so in general, right? If it's mounted on the wall, okay. Like if it's actually like up against.
Well, listen, this isn't a college dorm where you just set it on the back of the toilet.
Sure, no. But you have freestanding.
There's
you have
freestanding wall mount or a stand, or yes.
Like so there's a difference between the stand
and then the wall mount. College dorm where it was like the back of the toilet became this.
Catch-all. It
was like reverse Jenga, right? Where you keep adding to it.
How can we make this stack of
yes, you keep adding to it, and you're just like, by the time it got to the 40th roll, you're like kind of bending it, twisting it to put. I mean, you have to be aware that this is what happened. You guys live in houses.
Bible college must have been a different experience for you.
No, you guys lived in houses where this happened with me.
That's true.
I mean, I wasn't like the person who was like, oh, well, that's the fun game to play, but it was happening.
Yep. I mean, I've been in a place where there was no toilet paper in a college house, so Like
How
McDonald's,
did that work?
McDonald's
Right.
napkins, you know, you're just doing what you got to do to get by.
Oh no!
Which is probably a whole
more
nother,
motivation to go to McDonald's.
Why would we? It just
Yeah.
leads to further investigation. Why would there be McDonald's napkins nearby?
Oh my gosh! That's right.
Well, maybe
When were
maybe you waddled somewhere to get it.
Yeah, wow. Oh my gosh. No, but so here's the thought process. If it's mounted on the wall, if it's on the back side, then the chances of you like contacting the wall or whatever fixture it's inside of when you reach, like if it's coming around out the bottom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like this, it's just unhygienic, right? Like it needs to come
Sure.
around over the
Immoral.
top.
I'm
so that
fine
you
with
can
however
come
you wanna
away.
say it.
Yeah, no, it's pure evil.
See,
So you can pull away from.
This is against
The
like,
exception
the
is
laws of the United Nations. Go ahead.
the exception is if it is a freestanding toilet paper roll hanger, it can go either way because you don't have the physical contact problem.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
Okay.
see, I'm the opposite of you. I actually think it should go towards the wall. No matter, like
This
it
is
should go
insane.
because it
This is
because it
insane.
always it's easier. I don't know. It always feels easier to pull down that way. I don't know why.
To who?
To
A
me.
serial
As you
killer?
drag along the
What are you
wall,
talking-
like
What are you dragging along the wall? I mean, have you been digging around in something?
I mean, you've
This isn't
been
even about-
defecating. Like I don't know what you're talking about.
What makes that easier? The fact that it's
I think it's
back there,
psychological.
what makes that more psychologically better?
I don't know why. In my mind, it's always like the pulling this way
You
feels wrong. I don't know. It just
you
it's-
achieve a greater inner peace if that toilet paper roll is along the backside
yeah.
when you pull.
I don't know. It makes my Atman Brahmin. I don't know.
What?
My Atman Brahmin. I don't know.
It's to me, it's more about I feel like I can surely do like one hand and not have to like secure the roll to
Oh,
pull,
interesting.
but I can absolutely it's one hand.
With which way?
If it's folded over this way.
You can one
Like,
hand it easier.
Yeah, like over the top, like toward my body, as opposed to folded back behind. I feel like I can one hand easier. Just a little flick of the wrist. Flick of the wrist. Because I don't have to do this weird sort of secure it.
See, I never.
thing.
Yeah, I always go one hand. I never use two hands.
I always secure it.
So
Like I'm
you're
pretty sure like I
two-hand.
always like reach over and like two-handed.
The only time I'm two-handed
have
if
to
it's
do
like one ply, that's or if you've got the like toilet paper sitting.
Listen, if it's one ply, there's probably a lawsuit coming.
There are worse
One
things
single ply.
going on with this scenario.
What about do you ever do the thing like where the toilet paper's there? It's like sitting, and you stick your finger in there, and then you go like this. You ever do that thing?
Will you
I
roll it
can't
around
bring
your
myself
finger?
to do it. I could not bring
You
myself
put your
to do it.
fingers into the toilet paper roll, like it's a holder, and then you.
Yeah. Now, if I'm doing
Wow.
that, I have used the wrong facility.
You're
If
not.
I ever find myself in that position, I've made a wrong
There are
decision.
way too many squares involved in this.
I should never. I didn't do enough investigating on the front end. Yeah. No, this is not enjoyable whatsoever.
I'm just curious. This is not on the list here. I will drive extra miles to go to an on queue, just for the bathroom.
Quality?
Yeah, for the
Yeah.
bathroom cleanliness and.
Totally. I'm with you.
It's pretty much always
No, I'm
the
with you.
pick. Yeah, I mean,
I'm with you.
Either
just
that or
curious.
some rebuilt 7-Eleven or something. Like just
too risky.
a bigger facility.
Yes, it has to be a newer,
Right.
like if it's a newer 7-Eleven, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's right.
Just curious.
But
It's
on
like
cue.
I only go to convenience stores built since 2000.
Oh yeah, even newer. Yeah, no, that's good. Okay, so the next one. These are something to argue about that really matters, right?
Does anyone disagree with this next one? Let's
The
say it.
statement is, you want to read it?
It's absolutely necessary to wash your feet in the shower.
I'm a feet washer.
I would think there are 3 places that are critical to wash, and those in the armpits are.
Here's the thing about gravity and what happens and what occurs in the shower.
Don't do this.
Given you have soap all over your body, where does it run? Does it run up? Does it run straight out? it runs down.
That's
right?
true. That's true.
So you could stand in the shower after you soaped everything, right?
Right.
And what's going to eventually receive the largest volume of soap? You could stand still, and your feet are still going to receive the largest volume of
At
soap
least
by the
over
time.
the top of the feet.
So okay, let me say this then. You're not going to just stand still. You're going to move.
Sure.
You're going to move your feet, right? And so there's going to be soap. Assuredly, there's going to be soap on that in the shower pan.
You keep saying assuredly, and I'm not comfortable with the way you're using that word.
No, that's right.
Do you wash your feet, Aaron?
Well, the answer is I do wash my feet.
Separately?
I do wash my feet, but not in the way that you all do.
Do you lift your foot up and take the soap on your hand or a loofah and run it around and through your toes and
I don't use a loofah.
whatever.
Say this.
Loofah, sponge.
I'm already getting soap, all the soap, right? That's what, if you want to call it, leftover, but the soap is making its way toward my feet.
Especially the underside. It's just one of the dirtiest parts of your body. Like it's
which is why it is. You've got soap at the bottom of the shower.
It's great.
Everywhere.
And part of this comes to like, I tend to overwash things as well. Like Casey doesn't allow me to do the dishes because I worked in a biotech lab for long enough that my level of like cleanliness standards are probably a little excessive for a kitchen, right? Like when I'm cleaning a dish, it's like just the level of clean.
That's a place you want to be clean.
I'm just way over. It's like literally it's clean, and then I clean it again. I mean, it's
you're starting
probably
to remove.
excessive.
You're starting to remove the material that the plate is made of.
At least layers of skin. Yes. Yeah. No. So
that's hard to hear.
So I recognize I'm self-aware of like the I might tend to overwash even parts of the body as well. Who knows?
I don't know. I've heard people make similar arguments with your logic about why you don't have to wash your butt, and I don't know. It just bothers me.
No, I'm not going to make that. I'm not going to make that argument about the butt.
It's the logic, though. It's if you follow it out to its logical conclusions.
It's not the same.
Why not?
Because of the soap. Because of the amount of soap. Because of the amount of soap. It's like if you want to listen, I haven't done like a statistical analysis on the volume of the soap that's going to reach, my feet versus my backside. However, there's just not going to be near as much soap that would actually just naturally fall to my feet and the shower floor that I'm dancing around in.
Why not err on the side of caution?
Is that the side of caution?
Yeah. I mean, there's a chance you're not getting your feet clean.
Based upon what?
You're not. You scrub everywhere else.
It's assuming that I'm not getting soap on my feet all over the surface area.
Are you scrubbing?
How do you get
my feet against the floor?
You have,
especially with like the potential for fungus buildup and all kind. Like it's just
feet
are a level that it's like you have to.
This is
treat those with respect. Again, there are a few areas of your body you got to treat with respect.
I've been
make sure you get
complimented on my feet.
I really don't smelled your feet in different moments.
Yeah, but you sniff your own fingers.
Oh my gosh.
That's true, everyone.
Give him 3 minutes to
That's true.
sniff his hands.
There, he did it.
Anyway.
So is it? This isn't your sophist position. This isn't you just taking that for the side of argument. This is your real hygienic process.
Well, I don't know why that matters.
I'm just curious.
So the next one. Who wants to read the next one?
Did we just tell all my clients that I sniff my fingers?
Watch for it, guys. Watch for it.
Jeremy, you want to read this one? Yeah. Because obviously, this is one you should read.
All right. Nothing is funnier than fail videos of people falling or hurting themselves.
I'm going to be hard pressed to think that much is funnier than that.
Well,
as terrible.
I have an argument. I have at least one argument. Okay, yeah. I was trying to think of like, give me one.
Because I'm thinking of ones that's just like when I've seen it where people are just their buddy is on like the top of a golf cart or something. you know, and they're like flooring it into a sand pit. And so he just goes launched. It's that kind of thing. I'm just like, this is genius and funny in every way.
Okay.
And hopefully he's fine, but it doesn't really matter if he is.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like even you bringing up the golf cart only proves my case further.
Okay.
Okay? Because I think the thing that is funnier than fail videos of people falling or hurting themselves is watching live the people do
like
those
seeing
things.
it in person? Seeing it in person?
Well, and the example that I think of, right, and this isn't falling and hurting or whatever, but it's Jeremy with a golf cart.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's
Like
good.
at that golf tournament where
it's
like
good.
we were at a client's golf tournament.
listen. It was not funny to me at the time. It was not funny to me.
Terribly embarrassing, but also hilarious.
But he didn't hurt himself.
Right?
Did I
He
fall?
was stuck
Not
in
laugh at
mud.
that.
He was stuck in mud. Like I don't know how he found the one pool of mud on the course.
Did I fall in the mud or
No.
You were
Drove
out,
right into it.
No.
You drove straight
Y'all
into it.
thought I drove
and then-
into it, and you yelled at me as if I did drive into it, but James Silberman was driving that golf cart. It was not me driving.
But then you were like out back, like behind it, like trying to push it.
Oh, yeah.
and like wading through the mud.
At that point, he was trying to salvage it. Yeah.
Like you were covered in mud up to your kneecaps.
Oh, that was bad.
Yeah.
That was bad.
I also
And we're
had
at,
walking
this-
pneumonia at the
this
time too.
Fancy, oh my gosh, that was before it was.
Oh, that's
cool.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. Isn't that what you were you diagnosed with that?
Yeah, like a day later, I found out I had pneumonia. And I thought I was passing a
Last
kidney
summer.
stone.
Last summer.
Yeah, this was last summer. Yeah, this is pre everything.
That was.
Yes, you thought you were passing kidney stone.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was one of the funniest things I've ever watched in my life, and like,
And then in no way it impacted your golf performance.
No. Oh,
It
no.
was just.
You just can't, when you're at rock bottom.
it's hard to get much worse. That's why we scramble.
Oh, man. Well, I would say that fewer things are funnier than that. The fail videos. I mean, there's comedians that are funny and all that's, but predictably, if you're watching a fail video, you're going to see something that's.
Lift your spirits,
What was the one? There's one that's your
for
favorite.
me,
There's one that you have
real
that's a
reliable.
favorite.
Oh, I have a favorite genre. I got two, I guess. One would be overweight people falling off of horses.
Ih, vai, foi.
Meu cavalo saindo do lugar daí, ó, do morro.
Ele já tá com o freio de mão puxado aí, ó. Ih, cara.
Caralho.
Like so specific.
Well, they're my people, and I know what it's like to get on a horse that's too small. It's just something about the image
I
of the
know what it's like
horse.
to get in a car that's too small.
Yeah. And then the other, there's just something about people jumping off of trampolines into pools and that going wrong. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I just,
Or
it
houses.
really gets my
It
goat.
hurts, Steven.
Listen, dude.
Think about it.
Backyard wrestling. Backyard wrestling, right? Pile driver onto a table off of a roof. That sort of stuff. There's no good decision making here, but for whatever reason, these hordes of people are having just the time of their lives watching this happen.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
just think, man, good for them, and I can enjoy that with them. It's
Kinda
hilarious.
It makes me think of that song, where it's like scars heal, glory fades. All that's left is the stories made.
Yes.
You know, those people, they'll have that forever. Remember that time I jumped off the roof and pile drive Tommy into the table?
Yeah. No, that's. And if they don't remember it, they can probably pull it up on YouTube.
You can watch. It's right.
Oh my gosh.
And it really does last forever.
And the brain damage.
So hard to beat. Next, let's jump ahead here. On the TV show The Office, Pam Beesly is more corrupt than Creed Bratton. Well, she even admits it herself.
I'm full on corrupt.
I mean,
Creed Bratton, the guy who's. There's so many suspicions.
Like
Isn't
he
there-
is the Scranton Strangler.
Isn't
arguably
isn't
the
there a
Scranton
theory he was the
30%.
Scranton
30%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pam, it's hard. Is Pam Beesly, is she a heroine or is she an anti-hero?
She is loved by many.
A lot of people love her. But
Right? She overcame her demons to have courage, doing the coal walk.
Walking on the coals, yep.
Walking on the coals.
what's your theory about why she's so bad again?
Which part?
I mean, just like you think she's a terrible human being.
Which
Jeremy, what's your
which
position
part
first?
here?
It's hard. I waffle on it. I like that she changed to some degree.
Did she?
She did tell everybody. She told everybody her truth. She told everybody her truth.
It's only a matter of time before she goes back to the way that she was.
I mean, late seasons were really interesting because they hit closer to home, like over the last 5 years, because
like when Jim's
off,
going
like,
to do his
working like crazy to try to create this thing. And then there's even this weird like relationship thing that she has with
the cameraman,
yeah,
right?
and like to where it's like just way too emotionally connected.
No, I definitely didn't like
finding
that.
something there that she's not, finding with her spouse instead of like we're pushing through and working through the things to get it with her spouse. Like, I mean,
avoiding conflict.
But nothing negative about Creed here.
How many sprouts monk beans? I mean, that's
Creed is
bow body. I mean, that was genius.
Bow body.
Bow body. Bow body.
It's www.creedthoughts.com//gov.
First thing we really learned about Creed. The first thing we really learned about Creed is he convinces Michael to fire Devin. I think it's Devin instead of him. Right?
Yep.
And he says, "You're never going to regret this. You're not going to regret this." Right? And he basically just argues Michael into firing Devin. And then you find out the casino night, right, that he just steals things. That's
like
just
pocketing.
this is what he does. He just steals things, right? And then escalates over time, right, to where he makes fake IDs.
Well, do you remember also
he has a business that he runs for fake IDs out of the back of his car?
Kids. Yeah, that's right.
Well, he's also supposed to be doing
himself.
What about when he's supposed to be doing quality control? And the paper goes out with the watermark in it
Exactly.
of the beloved cartoon character
and he gets
doing
that
bad
lady
things.
fired, and he's passing around that card where there's money. People are giving money to the woman who gets fired,
and
the last thing you see is he steals the money and throws the card away, right? And then on Halloween, everybody's dressed up, and there he just walks in, and he's covered in what looks like blood, and they're just like, "Whoa, what a costume!" And he's just like, "Yeah,
I really lucked out on that.
I really got lucky today," right?
And then there's like the narcotics police who are like walking in to bust Toby because Michael put a Caprice in his drawer, like a Caprice salad, thinking it was weed. And like the police are walking in and he like immediately stands up and raises his hands.
Yes. It gets to where it's the last episode and he's being arrested.
It's the classic debate of, is the pure villain the more villainsome, or if that's a word, villainsome.
Sure.
Is the pure villain the more immoral, or is it the one that pretends to be somebody they're not?
This is where he even talks about on an episode where it's more fun to be a follower in a cult, but you make more money as a leader. Right? And he's speaking from experience, and yet in my mind it's not even close. Pam, the artist formerly known as Beasley, now Pam Halpert, is by far, if you as a superhero, your powers were destroying people's dreams and trying to steal a boyfriend from somebody else, and like always giving up when life gets hard, you'd be the perfect superhero as Pam Beasley, right?
I still think Creed's worse as the murderer, or potential murderer.
Listen, I mean, just think about this. Let's just go through a rap sheet here, right? She fails art school after wanting to go to art school, right? Even if that gets in the way of like Roy, who, by the way, when you think about it, Roy, it seems to have done really well for himself, having escaped
He really turned a
the
corner.
relationship that he had with Pam.
Was Roy's problem that he was Roy because he was with Pam?
I'm just saying, just throwing it out there. This is in the realm of possibilities.
I put that on Roy.
I see your skepticism. I'm going to keep going. Right? So
the list continues. Hated
that Jim wanted to start his own business. Hated it.
Uh-huh.
Right? to the point where he's over there like feeling like he has to do something in secret to start a business, and she thinks that like maybe he's having like some sort of relationship on the side, which is like, no, Pam, that's not what Jim's doing. That's what you would do.
After snap. And keep in mind, she was against him starting his own business after she had gone with Michael to start the Michael Scott Paper Company.
Hypocrite.
Think about that.
Let's just keep going.
Creed's still worse.
While we're on this, let's just keep going, right? So Hay said he would start his own business. Thinks that there's like he's having like some sort of secret relationship with somebody, when it's just all she did for the first 3 seasons of The Office was flirt with somebody she was not in a relationship with.
Oh, yeah.
Projecting, so you say.
Just saying. Tried to catch Jim in a lie about whether or not he was attracted to the new girl. Remember that? And she resorted to like Dwight and having Dwight try to discover it.
I mean, just the fact
Who does this? Who does this?
Who aligns with Dwight?
But that's not even the worst of it. So heads up to anybody out there who is like a Karen Filippelli, right? Because just when you think things are safe and you're going in with a job interview with the one that you love, Pam might be there slipping in a yogurt lid with a note that says, don't forget where you came from, right? To steal your man away from you.
Oh, yeah. You already like landed the fish.
How does that one set with you, Jeremy?
It's pretty, that was pretty terrible.
What? Yeah. Didn't see Creed doing that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things you didn't see Creed doing. Creed is a hardened criminal that knows what not to do on camera.
Hey, listen, if Creed is the Scranton Strangler, then he is partially responsible for what ultimately brought Michael and what's her name back together.
Holly
back together.
And that right there may be Creed's saving grace. If he's what brought
the architect of the best relationship in the show.
Because that was the most beautiful relationship.
Moving on, and let's argue about something that really matters. Does the 5-second rule still apply?
Whoa. 5-second rule. No.
We were having a little bit of this discussion. And there is like a companion rule that's like the debris rule. I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't get talked about as much.
Elaborate.
But you're talking about like, well, is the 5-second rule true if it's like in a cattle auction or something, something like just ridiculous locations like that? And it's like, well, but if you get the stuff all over it,
yeah,
I mean that's never been.
I would agree. It depends
thing.
on like Jello, unless it's like just on like super clean tile. I mean, there's no.
So let
way.
me get this straight. I'm about to argue with 2 people. Are you for?
I am
the 5-second rule.
I am for the 5-second rule.
You are too,
but
right?
with the debris.
I'm generally
caveat.
for the 5-second rule in known places, and the food isn't like super sticky, something like
and
that.
Known places.
If anything,
as long as you're familiar with the environment.
If I were I'm at Walmart, I'm not eating something.
Okay. Yeah. Other places you're not comfortable with eating off of the floor?
If I drop something on your floor, I'd probably be okay with that, If it were like something pretty it's like
what's the word?
Non-adhesive.
Like he doesn't believe in the 5-second rule.
Not like a chip. I would eat a chip.
Non-adhesive?
Yeah, like a chip, a hot dog. Yeah, sure. All those things. And also, another factor that rolls into this is how hungry am I?
Oh my God.
I mean, if you're on a camping trip and you drop something, you're probably going to try to dust it off. Because there's just limited food. Survival mode.
Scarcity really has a big impact on this.
See, I think that you would be pretty lenient on the 5-second rule. Like you would be not necessarily a strict adherist. Is that right? Is that the right term?
Adherent?
Adherent. You wouldn't be a strict adherent to it, but you would, for the most part, you would be 5-second rule, right?
Yeah.
You don't necessarily say it, but for you, Josh.
Well, the farther I've gotten into this whole parenting thing, the less I generally care about a whole lot of things. Well, related to like.
I would think it goes the other way.
I'm gonna get real dirty
you would care
anyway.
more about more things.
No, I mean once you have like enough snot all over you and all, just in terms of the cleanliness kind of stuff. Now I know they're your kids and all that, but I would say if anything, it's maybe extended a little bit. But again, with the normal caveats, right?
I can't even believe I had to debate whether or not my feet are clean by the way that I shower. The fact that this discussion is occurring the way that it is right now.
It's the smell.
It's
the smell that I find so offensive.
I can't possibly understand.
Well, part of the feet thing for me is particularly with you. I mean, I take you as a clean person.
Because I am.
Because
I'm right about washing feet.
I used to believe you were a clean person, Aaron.
I just had high expectations for you.
See, this is now I just totally, because I don't do the 5-second rule. I think this you're going to throw it away.
Immediately.
I gotta throw it away because there's, yeah.
Any contact with the floor, it's.
Basically.
Wow.
What if it's frozen? What if it's like a frozen thing that's going to be
like a hard
cooked?
candy?
Or a hard candy, an M&M.
Well, okay. I don't really have like candies. We don't have a whole lot of candies.
That's fair.
I'm just saying in general. You drop an
No,
M&M.
I mean like we just don't have a whole lot of candies. So we've created an environment where it may not necessarily apply. So you got to come up with something else. Hey, what's your next? What's your next option for
me? So a Dorito,
here?
you drop a Dorito, that Dorito's going in the trash can.
Probably.
Wow.
Probably.
Yeah.
Your love of Doritos would overwhelm that.
Man.
No, and this is
maybe
where
you're just farther on the whole like abundance and scarcity thing,
on that scale of it.
Yeah. You and your palace.
I don't know that that's true. I think that I'm just. Well, what is it? What is it about it that you guys are fine with? You just blow on it and literally microscopic germs are gone.
No, it's just like
because you blow on a chip.
Probably not a substantial accumulation of those microscopic germs. That's all.
I mean, I kind of just think the likelihood that my hand is as dirty as the floor is pretty good.
I don't go there.
Which probably says more about the cleanliness of your hands.
And you're worried about his feet?
I'll just the hand washing thing, the campaign that came about because of COVID, it worked on me. It worked.
Oh my gosh.
I'm definitely a more frequent hand washer than I was before.
Right? Well, that's why you probably aren't building up as many antibodies.
I'm compromising my immune system.
You're compromising the whole system.
I'm counteracting all the benefits of eating off the floor.
Oh gosh. All these years.
What have I done to myself? Oh my gosh. I will say, with Josh's theory about children, have you ever gotten like a real gritty kiss?
A what?
A gritty kiss from a child.
A gritty kiss?
A gritty.
Like they got dirt in their mouth or something, or just a.
Oh no! I reject that as soon as I see it.
You don't have a son.
Get away from me.
I reject it as soon as I see it.
Both of them. I mean.
No, it's like you should clean your face. Clean your face.
Don't touch me.
Your kiss is unacceptable.
Yeah, you have stuff all over your mouth. You can go clean that, and then I can love you again.
Don't touch me with your dirty face. You're gonna get me all dirty. Makes me think of Albie the racist dragon.
Oh my gosh!
You're getting it all dirty.
Don't touch my tail. You'll get it dirty.
In the marmalade forest, between the make-believe trees, in a cottage cheese cottage, lives Albie. Albie, 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 the racist dragon.
All right. Well, yeah, we're all going to agree on that one, right? The statement regarding morning people. Morning people have friends. I mean, I'm going to disagree with that.
Yeah, like I know we were talking about this earlier, but I think they are morning people because they're trying to get away from people, and so I think that would minimize their friends. Yeah. Jeremy,
you're a morning person. What are your thoughts?
There are a lot of successful people that have lots of friends that are morning people. Morning people. You hear a lot of morning people, especially older baby boomer-esque people. Go to the coffee shop with their friends.
Sure.
You know, meeting up at the coffee shop. My friends just need me more morning people. You want to get some coffee early on?
I don't know if I'm capable of fixing it.
So, Jeremy, are you a counterexample or not?
I have friends. Right?
He's the exception to the rule of the morning person.
I think there's lots of Tony. Like
I
that's
just wanted to see him convince himself that he has friends. Like that's
Tony Robbins points out that there are lots of successful people. You don't have to be a morning person to be a successful person, and I think to be a successful person, you have to have friends. You just it's a part of it.
That's
unless you're like a king, you don't have to have.
In which case, the vagabonds and the peasants can do as you wish.
Yeah.
Wonderful. No, that's fair. Yes. I don't know if it's respectable, but it's fair.
Right.
Any of these that you guys want to explore before we transition here into the last segment for our podcast today?
I think the zipper merge question.
So explain this. So
a zipper merge is the proper maneuver when driving an automobile when you're approaching a work zone and lanes converge from 2 lanes into 1 lane. And the zipper merge would say that both lanes should be filled until you get to the point where the lane ends, and then people take turns going at the actual lane ending.
It's like an every other car can now merge
right
thing.
So I drove myself to the emergency room. That's a nice relaxing drive. No, after you. Merge, everybody merge.
Most people would say it is selfish to do a zipper merge.
In Oklahoma, at least. You get
yes.
Judged hard.
Very passionate. I see lots of memes of people saying that they will drive into the cones or push you into the cones before they let you pass them, a certain point before that.
Right.
Because I think you cheated to get there.
Yeah, you cheated. You were looking out for yourself. Everybody else was kind of serving everyone and starting to get way earlier than they had to. And I used to think that. But then I saw the science and the math behind, when you actually do the the calculus on it, even you can kind of figure out the.
You might be changing my opinion right here as we sit, because I've been.
Oh yeah, no, because and the reason specifically Oklahoma.
I wanted to chase people down and follow them, who have done this very maneuver you're talking about.
I've pulled over into the left lane and just gone super slow.
Oh yeah.
I've done that.
I've thrown garbage out my driver's side window.
It's
I will litter.
I'm gonna make sure you're nice to everyone.
I've emptied the contents of my vehicle on the passing car. I haven't gone that far.
McDouble wrapper.
Yeah.
No,
exactly.
but it is it's a function of we're trying to out nice each other and think of ourselves as being nice. But it's not a thing that actually makes
I just thought
sense.
I've been right about it.
Well, the signs, they say merge now.
That's
they
exactly
say
what they
merge
say.
now.
Yep.
They say merge now.
The signage is not helpful. That's
true. That's a good point.
It needs to be it's actually correct that they should basically catch up to where the work is occurring, where they got all those cones and stuff. And all the cars you basically just form 2 lanes up to that point.
Right. And it all has to do with volume, because you can get more cars into the space and then you're getting consistency of it going. Whereas otherwise you just get a slowdown and the volume goes further back or longer.
It bottlenecks.
Right. That's my understanding of how it's been explained.
There's just less indecision about whose turn is it or what.
So the zipper merge people who are trying to actually do that.
Yeah.
Right? Those are the heroes.
Well, and you have to, I'm sure there are people that are also just thinking.
It's going to be hard for me to not emotionally respond.
It is
next time I see somebody trying to do it, though. Just the habits I've built up.
Well, I think there are, sometimes you're in a hurry and you're like, well, I'm not going to get over. I need to go as far as I can and then try to get over. I've done that before. I'm that jerk.
Yeah,
so.
Sure.
And I was not thinking for the greater good. I must do the zipper merge. And no, I'm just trying to be faster.
It may be an interesting approach to when you see the merge now, like slow down next to the person right next to you, but then just stay in your lane and just move. See if you can get people to like start stacking up behind you as you're like slowly going along with the traffic. So you're not like cutting everybody. Everybody hates a cutter, right?
Oh yeah, the
You're
cutting thing is yeah.
And so you're clearly like not cutting, but you're like not merging yet either.
It's
like
just
it's a
so
good
hard
social
because a lot of
experiment.
people are gonna hate you. If you try to do, if a bunch of people tried to do the zipper merge, there'd be a lot of anger, I think. And there's gonna be some sort of education about it. More education.
Anger's gonna happen. It's gonna be there no matter what.
Aaron doesn't care about anger. It's about what's the best for doing what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, what works?
What works?
What works the best?
It's a great question. What works the best?
What works the best? Which is a great transition to our next segment.
Can I try one more?
That's fine.
Because he brought up this whole time travel thing.
Oh, gosh.
And I'm like, good Lord.
Okay, well, how was it phrased?
So the phrase is time travel, thought-provoking idea, or most annoying plot device ever. Jeremy, would you like to state your position?
By the way you stated this, it sounds so elitist the way that you even stated this.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, I didn't know if this would be the way they got asked. I was open to changing them, but I mean, I'm definitely. I think time travel. There are very few movies where, as soon as time travel gets introduced, I'm very done with the movie.
You're like, I guess that they threw out their brains before they decided to finish the writing.
Like
and the
they
plot
must be
development.
thinking less because of time travel.
Something happened in this. So there's this linear events happen, and something happened in there that's unexplainable. Well, I guess somebody traveled back in time and did something, or traveled into the future and did something, or, I mean, it's, yeah. I have very, very particular views on time travel.
You're not only going to throw Back to the Future out as this incredible thought-provocational work, that's a word, but Austin Powers, right? Yeah. Exactly.
Didn't he didn't time travel. He was frozen hyperbolically.
No, he did time travel.
Did he time travel?
Yeah, I think he traveled back in time to like Goldmember and whatever the.
Okay. That was the last one, wasn't it? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
So
just going to completely throw those out as the cinematic marvels that they are.
I really don't like time travel.
Have you ever seen Looper?
I have seen Looper.
Okay.
That one, I can't remember how it. So in my thoughts about time travel, all actions are accounted for. So if you say I want to go back in time and I want to change the future, whatever you done it's already happened to where the future will never change. It already was in that timeline, and so it's already all happened. And anything that you do, you think you're doing something to change it, but it's already accounted for, and there's going to be no net difference at the end.
Well,
was that the way Looper?
That's because you have a particular theory of time.
There's
like
A
theory and B theory. I don't remember which one's which or whatever, but like that's one of the theories of like how time works, as opposed to you could go back and you would in fact be changing something.
I know
and
there
so
are people that
there's
think
literally
that
that's a question, right? Very, very impossible to take one or the other as the assumed reality, right? Because we're talking about something.
Well, it depends.
How? So, you could have never experienced, the effects of time travel up to this point, but then that doesn't necessarily mean it's not a thing, right?
I'm just over here just like Infinity Wars. Like you couldn't even enjoy the movie.
Exactly.
That's crazy to me.
Because in my mind, here, like,
is Infinity War? Is that the Marvel one?
Is that the Marvel one?
Yeah.
Where
I haven't seen it.
So
I actually haven't seen it.
Have you seen Doctor Strange?
See, because it's all completely contingent.
Yes.
Doctor Strange is.
I actually like Doctor Strange as a movie.
What?
As a movie,
the entire premise.
Well, the thing I appreciate, there's some, I liked it, but
oh no, like that's by far my favorite. Well, it's like Doctor Strange and Black Panther, like right there, of like my favorite Marvel movies. But
the thing I loved, for me, the thing I liked about Doctor Strange and why I thought it was so cool is just how it took on a lot of the Eastern vibes, and like it's just very cool how every one of those movies has its own thematic, its own theme, and that one was very East. It was just it's really cool about how they did that with That's why I like that one so much.
You are such a man of contradictions. It seems it's just I don't even know.
A walking,
but you hate the. No, because in my mind, and maybe this is because I like overly complicated things, right? Anytime it's to a
Go
fault.
ahead. Don't let me interrupt you.
To a consistent fault.
Keep going on that note.
So I like making things complicated just because they make fun that way.
That's exactly, yeah.
But and then because of that, when like time travel gets introduced as a piece on the board, you're like, oh yeah, this is about to get a lot more layered. And obviously you've got cheap uses of it, right? But there are other uses of it that actually make the movie much more deep. And you're
Lost.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Lost was so
Lost.
Oh my gosh. No, because then you're like having to second guess all the different realities and like, wait, have we seen this before? Is this accounted? Is it not? Like it draws you into the debate between like A theory, B theory, time, like all this kind of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And it just makes it way more interesting. I think it's a terrific plot device in most uses. Obviously it can be cheap, but in a very large amount of uses, I think
I appreciate it more whenever they try to be consistent and take out the conveniences. The more they make it actually consistent with the worldview, and it gets inconvenient.
Sure, but again, that's because you're importing a theory of time in like imposing it on the situation.
Boom, pocket aces.
I think I just have. And
you're like, well, I just think I'm right about that theory of time. Have you ever considered it? Like, it's just
like, but there's not another theory about time.
There's no other position about this.
Yeah, I mean, I think my beliefs about time fit into like a theological view of time.
There's plenty of debate within that as well.
Like
so,
in that, like,
anyway.
yeah.
We can go down this rabbit hole if you want to, but to say that it's the only one is insane.
That does impact your viewership appreciation of shows and movies and
I don't have a strong position on which theory of time I believe is accurate. I'm aware of them and appreciate anyway.
I'm not aware of what mine are at all, and that allows me to appreciate whatever it is.
They just hop back in a time machine. What's gonna happen next?
Cool.
Sounds good.
I guess it's just one I have a hard time suspending my belief around.
It sounds like it.
Yeah,
it does.
I could tell.
And my wife loves Doctor Who, so there you go.
Yeah, that's right.
The worst time travel show.
You guys seem very compatible in that subject. So
great. Yes. Yeah. That's all right. Well, that wraps it up. Let's argue about something that really matters. I thought that was great arguments, guys.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is important stuff we're talking about here.
Very important.
So it's trying to really get down to the bottom of life's grandest riddles.
I think the world's a better place.
I'm just glad we got to Marvel because literally I'm currently searching for a little Doctor Strange and a little Black Panther figurine to like put beside my bed. That's
so you like Doctor Strange and you like Black Panther.
Yeah.
And like you really like those.
Yeah.
Why? Just curious.
Biggest character development on Strange, but then also the time stuff. Like I like that. And the way that climax, like what it builds to, and the way that all plays out. I won't spill any beans here. And then Black Panther, because he's basically the best archetype of like a good man leader in the whole thing, because you have so many who are just riddled with, everybody's got their flaws,
faults, and
serious flaws to make up for the superhero capabilities, whatever.
Right.
But he's just like really strong, like as a man, as a leader. I just the sacrifices, the willingness to like take responsibility for his people, like all that kind of thing. He's like the best guy, pretty much, in the whole universe.
Who's your favorite? Who's your Marvel?
I don't know if I have a favorite. I mean, well, no. I mean, it's probably going to be Iron Man, but for all sorts of weird, different reasons, I'm sure.
Pretty funny.
I mean, it's just, hey, in terms of ultimate sacrifice, what he did eventually decide to do.
Eventually, yes.
Yes. Yeah. It's pretty heroic. So.
Yeah.
Iron Man's my favorite as well.
I mean, he's such a great character.
He's the work ethic thing. I like his work ethic. Like he's just like crazy, like always into something new. And
always workaholic. Creativity.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like he's like the Elon Musk. Elon Musk is the real Iron Man kind of.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, that's good. That's funny.
Yep.
That's a funny comparison, but yeah. No, that's interesting. Well,
anyway, good stuff.
Speaking of, I don't remember what you were talking about earlier, but we had this
zipper merges.
Speaking of merges, we're going to merge into our next segment.
Oh my gosh.
So, we started reading Shoe Dog. So Phil Knight, co-founder of Nike, right?
Yep.
Net worth of like $39 billion.
The guy who had the dream. It's so big.
This book, we wanted to try to start reading through some different things that were just like works that people really highly recommended.
Yep.
Business people or philosophical, or it could be anything of everything. Yep. Honestly. Yep. And this was one that people just recommended all over the place. Shoe Dog.
It's like our Maven book club, basically.
Yeah, that's the idea with it.
Yep.
So, and this is one that I know both of you guys you've already read the whole thing. I'm only like a third of the way through it.
And when you say co-founder, it was like, yes, he had other people, but he was the guy with the idea. He's the one, he wrote like a thesis at Stanford that was basically, we need to start Japanese shoe companies. And he was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And then was just dying to actually figure out a way to do it. Yep.
Yep. And so that's when the book kind of starts with, he's back living in his parents' house after being away for like 7 years or something.
Went in the military.
Got his undergrad at Stanford or at Oregon.
No, you may be right. Oregon.
He got it at Oregon, and then he ended up getting his master's at Stanford. And then he had like a little bit of a military background, and he's back living with his parents, and he's talking about just like, how did I even get back here?
Yeah.
And it's just like this, but he
kind of lost.
He writes not like a dude who you would think was the founder of a shoe company, but like a historian, writer, linguist type.
Yeah.
That level of writing that's just fascinating.
It's more like a humanities type. Yeah.
The study of people.
Yep.
It's like he writes that way. It's absolutely fascinating from the get.
Yeah. So. And it's a pretty spellbinding book, the way he like lays out the different.
He's a very good storyteller.
Images.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, because he's like talking about like looking at climbing up Kilimanjaro or whatever, and like thinking about all the different people who've gone before, and just getting all romantic basically with all these different, all the different ways you can ascribe meaning to it and think about how important it is and all this different stuff. And then thinking about it like cross-culturally, and I don't know. He just gets lost in his thoughts thinking about
Wasn't expecting that. Like I'm literally going into this book thinking just like business strategy and just like, which he does plenty of, right? Even if I'm a third of the way through it, but there's still plenty there.
And he like wants to talk about the Temple of Athena.
He is very much like a meanings guy, like putting meanings on things. Like I'm out going on a 7-mile jog and I'm stuck at home again with my parents. What am I like? Very much having a an existential crisis as a young man about what's my life mean. Never really had those. I don't have those kind of thoughts. I don't have those kind of meta narrative thoughts about my life like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's not.
See, I do.
It's like the way
I don't know if that's
the way that he says it. He's just like my friends, I wanted to be successful. Unlike my friends, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that meant. I don't know what that meant.
Yeah.
It's just, but that's the existential crisis he's having. Is just like, but he's 24 years old.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it is funny, like the thing that winds up being this, like the saving thing is just like putting one foot in front of another, just doing the next thing with the thing. And it's just,
that's funny.
Just trying. Yeah. Right.
Because it never got much more complicated than that for him.
Yeah. No, that's right. But he speaks like one who's having an existential crisis, and he is. He's 24. It's not like most people think of 24-year-olds that they don't have too many important things that are on their mind
Right,
necessarily,
right.
which, you know, they should, but most people don't think that they should.
Right. No, I mean, it's interesting because it's like you could tell he was really trying to deeply think about his life and like how to have an impact and how to actually go somewhere and how to not get caught up in the trap of respectability that his dad was in and all that kind of stuff.
Super important the way he talked
Oh
about
yeah.
that.
Yeah, that was.
But like how to actually go take on something that everyone was telling him is impossible and seemed like completely ridiculous. And just trying to think through like how to actually accomplish that. But I mean, it's interesting because I find myself, and then especially like historically, much more that romantic type thinking about, you know, how it all connects and how meaningful it is and all this. So whatever.
True. The meaning behind the meaning.
Oh yeah, no, I've walked down the streets of Austria, looking at the old cathedrals and stuff, having all kinds of thoughts about what. I'm totally that romantic.
Oh my goodness!
But
just think about where we've come from and where we're going and how we got to where we are.
We're so much stronger than we were yesterday. We'll get there.
No, that's really good. I love the way he writes it. It's so attention grabbing.
Oh yeah, yeah. Very moving.
Yeah, I mean, there's almost like a motivational. The way he unfolds the story, it's almost motivational in the way that he unfolds the story.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and it's funny because he states at the very end of the book that when he sat down to write the book, it was because he wanted to relay these lessons, right? But then all throughout the book, you're seeing these things. You're like, as a business owner who's like mildly successful, right? You're like, yes, that's a thing that's so critical. Yes, that's a thing that's so critical. And you just see like the breadcrumbs throughout the whole book. And then he's like, and that was why I wrote the book. To make sure that you guys get this and how big of a deal it is.
It was really amazing how relatable he was as like knowing he's a billionaire. You don't read that book thinking this guy set apart and like different than you or me.
Right.
I mean, he is like, he definitely, you know, he kind of has a style like where he like paints his side of the picture. That's like very heavy-handed in his direction, but then he like goes back and then tries to build up the case for the other side and like his shortcomings, his shortfalls, and like there is like
what's the example that you're thinking of right now? Because I knew you were talking about Johnson earlier.
Well, I mean, like Johnson's one of them. I mean, like there is the thing about like his leadership style with his very first employee. Like he's got this employee, he's in Oregon, and then he's got an employee that's down in California selling shoes, and like Johnson, his first employee, is writing him letters every day, telling him about what went well, what went wrong, and then he almost always ends the letter with, "I'm getting incredibly discouraged. Please send encouraging words." And
please send encouraging words.
Yeah, please send encouraging words. And then he just keeps getting the letters. Like every day he gets a new letter, and he never responds.
Yeah, Phil never does.
Yeah, Phil never responds
to this guy who's just like in the throes,
literally like
of
begging
all
him,
stuff.
begging him to send encouraging words.
Yeah.
But then his justifications and his guiltiness that he feels like, so he feels guilty about it, and he's like, "Man, I'm a terrible leader." But and then he also like a quote that he always would talk about was a quote from General Patton that says that don't tell people how to do things, tell them what to do, and let them surprise you with their results. And he has this, like part of his leadership style very much is just like handing people over what you want them to do and giving them the responsibility, and either they get it done the way that they want to get it done, but they're more invested. They're more passionate about it whenever you do it that way.
Right.
And so that's kind of the yin and yang of his relationship with his employees is this like letting them accomplish their ends, the end that he wants, but the way that they want to do it. And he's not like just overbearing and like really telling people how to do their thing every day in the day-to-day, which I think was a strong suit of his.
Yeah, and I think another thing would have been just like, it seemed like his comfort level with risk personally is like in a different stratosphere than other people, where he's literally having the meeting with, he's over in Japan and he's meeting with those individuals trying to, here's my proposal for the start of this shoe company and this business together. And so he's gone through the conversation in his head multiple times, obviously going over there, but he didn't think of the name of the business.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That he was going to.
No, because the way he's pitching it is like, we are ready for your, and
so in the
Japanese
moment,
shoes.
the
It's
first
a great
question
market.
they ask him is, "What's the name of
So
your
what
business?"
company are you with? Yeah, and he was like, Blue Ribbon Sports. So like literally just like
it comes up with the name of that on the spot.
Right,
yeah, it's
right.
just
Because there was like a blue ribbon on his wall in his room that he always looked at or whatever. Like
between that and like saying that he'd already started something on one of the coasts. He already started an office on one of the coasts when he's reporting back to the Japanese consultants with the business, and it's not true at all.
Yeah,
They didn't have an office on like the eastern seaboard or something.
Right.
Like, but he's just saying they do. Well, we already started it.
right. Mm-hmm. No, I mean there's some weird stuff.
I don't know what to think about that, but your comfort level with just doing that is
because it's not just risk, but it's also like this bizarro like negotiation situation with like the cross-cultural stuff and all this, to where like he basically felt like if he ever showed a chink in his armor or whatever, so he would like tell them that, and then he would go build the office on the other coast, like to basically make it true.
No, that's how it played out. That's absolutely right.
Right. Yeah. Which is like, that's pretty leveraged.
Yeah. There were definitely points.
That's interesting though, the negotiation side of that.
Yeah, because like if he let on that he wasn't that, then he was going to lose their shoe line.
Yeah, right.
And then he wouldn't have anything to sell. Like, yeah.
There were definitely points in that book where I found myself having like sweaty palms. Like I'm just like,
oh yeah. No, it's funny because like reading it, I was like, maybe I feel a little better about our cash flow problems sometimes.
Oh my goodness gracious! Yes.
Like, maybe we should be more aggressive. Like,
well, because he was that.
That dude built some crazy stuff, crazy fast. It reminded me of a story, and obviously there's good debt and there's bad debt, and hard to say where he falls exactly in the earliest of days. But it made me think of a story of a guy, because a lot of people think like if you're going to invest in real estate, you need to invest like all cash, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like that whole deal.
Right.
And I had a client who was a big believer in that for a while, right? And then he was like, but I actually got me a new mentor. This was like months into having a relationship with this guy, and I already sold him how. He was like, man, I got this new mentor, and he is a really, really well-off dude in Oklahoma City. And he said, man, if you keep doing that, what you're doing, you're going to be a millionaire. But you're never going to be a 10 millionaire. Because to make that jump requires leverage. And especially in real estate, like it's a very... As far as leverage goes, it's not like you're borrowing money from a bank to go buy shoes and ship them across the ocean, hoping that they don't, you don't lose them in transit, and then, hoping that they sell so that you can turn around and maybe make the interest payments in time. Like all this kind of stuff. Oh yeah. It's like, no, you're leveraging it against a property that is an asset and it's cash flowing and all whatever. And so I thought that was like, someone who is as successful as him talking about like just life in debt.
Oh, sure.
But it's a totally different type of debt than most people live in, because he was like really like his office spaces, his personal stuff. Like it was all like as pared down as you can be. Like his personal expenses as low as they can be for a long time.
Mm-hmm. That part was not extravagant at all.
No.
Yeah. No.
It's all about the mission. And for him, it's like the way he says it, he sees the competition of entrepreneurship as fulfilling his desire for like sports success, right?
Yeah.
It's the thrill of the game. It's the chase. It's the competition. It's the mission that he was on, right? The way he said it late in the book was, business was no more about making money than being human was about making blood. It seems it seems a shame to throw all the experiences and everything under the head of business. It was so much more than that. So much was always in the wind. You're always fighting for our lives, right? But it's always about the mission. They're trying to change the world and like create this running shoe culture, right? Whenever that what didn't exist previously.
Right.
They wanted people to wear those shoes all the time. All the time. And it was like a mission for them.
Yeah.
And that's what it was always about. And so he was like, whatever I have to do to accomplish the mission.
Well, that's, yeah.
Anyway, sorry. There's a lot of thoughts there. My favorite quote of the book was Bowerman, his coach, who was like just this crazy dude who like obsessively was like tearing shoes apart and rebuilding them and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, it's like to specific runners' feet.
Oh, yes. Yes.
He was like obsessive about their feet.
No, like you haven't
awesome.
lived until you've competed in shoes made of cod. That's what Bowerman said.
Oh my goodness!
It's like he was obsessed with how fast those, and light those shoes were. But this is like the brains behind all the shoe designs, like especially the early stuff that actually made them so successful. Yeah. Like if you haven't lived until you've competed in shoes made of cod.
That coach was very interesting. Like some of the things he talked about, like they were the men of Oregon, like the people that lived in Oregon.
Yeah, right.
Like the ethos of an Oregonian and the idea that like the people that live in Oregon are the people that either survived on the Oregon Trail, that like didn't
That's
die,
how I spoke about it.
or didn't ever leave to get there. They never set out to get there in the first place. And like, so like if you're an Oregonian, you're a winner kind of thing. And it was also interesting, like some of the practices they had, like there was a thing like where they would, like the runners, like to deal with pain.
Here, let me see if I can hear you a little bit better.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
Something about like they would heat up a key. It was like a piece of metal and then stick it to themselves, like to be like better, resolved to dealing with pain.
I wasn't sure. Maybe my reading comprehension was terrible at that point or something. I thought he just did that as just like he was pranking kids or something. Was it just something
Maybe
about
I'm
heating
wrong
a key
about
and
that.
like he would do that? As just like that was his way of
Nothing
joking with the
about
kid.
Bowerman was prankster-ish. It was.
That's why I was confused about that. That's the way I comprehended it. Was just like, why would he do that? But no, that's.
I think it had to do with just like dealing with pain. Like he was just he
was
one of those kind of coaches, I don't know if you had one of those kind of coaches.
Now he was the one who came up with the name of the Cortez Nike or the Cortez shoes at the time. Is that right?
I believe so.
Because they were coming up with, and it's one of the most popular shoes in the history of Nike as a company. It's actually, if you want a reference point for what that looks like, Forrest Gump wore them. Yeah.
I just felt like running.
I had like 3 pairs of those Cortez growing up.
If he can run across the country in those things.
That's right. So, but the name was basically, Adidas was going to have like they threatened some sort of lawsuit about like the Aztecs as a name of a shoe at the time, right? So they were competing over the name of that. And so he was like, who was it who defeated the Aztecs? Was it, so this Bowerman, who defeated the Aztecs? Was it Cortez?
Yeah.
Let's go with that.
Yeah.
That was his way of
not the most
Adidas.
Not the most PC name selection.
That's right.
But ingenious in terms of the battle going on between the two.
That's right. As far as big clever. Yeah, that was the kind of guys that they were.
That was
the level of competition. He talks about hating losing.
Oh yeah.
It's like it wasn't even about winning. It was about hating. I hated losing.
Bowerman had this whole incident. I'm sure you read this, where like a truck driver kept knocking over his mailbox.
Yeah.
He literally rigs explosives. Like he rigs up explosives so the guy runs into it and blows.
What kind of?
Which Phil told the story like to just illustrate what kind of a guy Bill Bowerman was. You're like, whoa.
Which is crazy because it seems like Bowerman was to Oregon almost like Bob Stoops or Barry Switzer is to like Oklahoma. Like that seems to be the level of like, well, I mean, he was a U.S. track coach for years, like the whole nation, but like in Oregon, he was definitely like, he came with clout.
Yeah, that's right. No, that's absolutely
right. Can you imagine like Bob Stoops
rigging up
explosives in his mailbox?
Getting back at this lonesome truck driver who keeps running over it.
It's like some loser who doesn't care about life and nearly
definitely
enough.
So for you guys,
I was going to say a scene for me that I think we can all kind of relate to. There was the first time they had like all 3, like they had the Olympic runners were all going to be wearing Nikes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this scene where he's like sitting in his recliner and they're about to have the final at the Olympics. And he's like, this is going to be the first time on the world scene. Nikes are going to be there. They all qualified Nikes. And it gets like he goes to zoom in on the guy's shoes, and he's wearing something else.
Like Adidas or something.
I can't remember what it was. And like he talks about like how he felt like he was going to slide into the floor out of his recliner in just depression and just like wanted to turn off all the lights and everything. And it definitely made me think about like how it can feel like when you've done like a ton of work for somebody. Like he got him all the way to the final race.
Yep.
And then they gave the limelight to someone else, you know. It's like that instant when you've sold a house. You've done everything for a client and then they take it to somebody that doesn't deserve it, you know. Like
That's
like you've fixed the game plan for them. You've helped them understand themselves, figured out everything, and then they just go right with somebody.
You showed
else
them 15 houses, and now they know we got to build a new house, and they go to a builder and cut you out of it, and like or whatever. You get the money for them. You figure out their financing. And you hand deliver the papers to the lender that they need to get qualified with. And they're like, oh yeah, by the way, I've got a friend that's going to write this contract for me. I'm sorry, that just blew my mind.
And this is why we asked more questions up front than we used to.
We learned
experiences.
We've learned a lot. We've learned a lot,
man.
From those painful experiences.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. And then you try to learn from that and make sure, you know, okay, well, this is going to work out. This is going to work out for them the way that it's going to work out in the end. And I'm not going to, I'm not going to resent them or I'm not even going to get involved with this. I'm going to help them go ahead, and they're going to use somebody else at that point. That's fine, you know. But let's discover that early on.
Yeah,
because they're going to they're going to do that, they're going to do that.
Oh yeah.
So let's find out, you know.
But you know, even with that, I'm very grateful that I've never had a bill for $25 million in customs fees.
Oh my goodness!
Because of the competitors maneuvering to try to twist things and make it to where they owed extra customs fees.
Oh, wow.
For the entire time, right? And having to deal with the bureaucrat, as they're called them.
Bureaucrat.
Like just this creature, you know, and trying to actually get the decision maker to actually make the fair decision on something as ridiculous as that. Yeah. That was a big issue right before they went public. Yeah. So
literally everything we know of Nike could have been killed by the United States federal government.
Oh yeah.
And all the nice, cool shoes we wear.
It was like based on what the shoe was valued at.
Yeah.
And like the way that that accounting happens and whether it's like at the final sale price or if it's at the price you bought it or like all this different. Yeah.
And so they basically
I don't even remember the exact detail, but it's something like that. Yeah.
And it was all at the behest and lobbying of companies like Adidas.
Exactly.
Yeah. It was Adidas trying to get the government to go, and I hate that. That's corporate.
Oh, yeah.
Crony. That's crony
crazy.
capitalism.
But then
right
he
there.
had another like senator who was going to bat for him too. So like he had political figures on his side trying to. Yeah, I mean it was this big like literally like inside the House and Senate like back and forth trying to fight for his company. They're like for their lives basically.
So
what they would have been totally screwed.
What all details do you remember from that story? That part of what happened? Because that's just like that's like such a crucial. That has to be such a crucial part.
Oh yeah.
I mean, at the end of it all, he still had. They had to pay like a $9 million. Wasn't it like a $9 million settlement?
It was a significant settlement, but they settled instead, and they had to so that someone would feel like, hey, we got something, or whatever.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I mean, but they did end up getting him way down from the 25.
Do you remember what year this was?
I think it was in like the early 70s. Maybe I'm wrong on that, though.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's...
Well, when did they go public? I don't even know.
God, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
If they even survived that.
Oh,
thing.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
25 million?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that was, again, in like the 70s.
Yeah, so they went public in
astronomical
1980
number.
Is when they went public.
Okay. Yeah. So for you guys, when you look at, there's stuff that people, you can't. There's the most important things you want to take when you read books like that.
Yep.
But for you guys, there's the stories, and there's just like, okay, we can see how that translates into our business, and where we've seen examples of that play itself out in its own way, in its own unique way in the real estate business and real estate world.
Yep.
But what are the things, any number of things that you take from reading a book like that? It's just, there's almost like this camaraderie of experience that exists, that we've referred to a few times. It's just, it almost like affirms, for me, it affirms, okay, some of those same stupid things that we've done, they were stupid and we've learned from them and right? And then there's like the affirmation of feeling like you're on the right path because having gone through those things and gotten to the other side, that kind of gives me hope as I'm reading through them. There's those sorts of things. What are the most important things that you would gather from what you recall having read that?
Specifically, like the commonalities or
could be anything.
Yeah.
I mean, could be anything. Whether it's the commonalities, whether it's just what stood out the most is whether it's lessons to be learned or it was just it was fascinating what played out.
Yeah.
For the he basically goes through a history of the business that is Nike.
Yep. I would say, one of them is like, this is just core. And then the other one is like, oh, that's interesting. The whole butt face retreat thing, right? Mm-hmm. The reason they would have meetings, right? He was talking about how funny it is that they had a multi-million-dollar company where the entire management team would respond to, "Hey, butt face." Like, what? Basically, like the culture of the management was so much like, "I'll fight you," and like, "You're an idiot," like, "You're totally thinking wrong," like on this thing.
Okay.
The way he expressed it was like, no idea or person was too sacred to be ridiculed. Not just to be disagreed with, like to be ridiculed for being terrible, right? And
that's pretty fascinating.
Oh yeah. And so they would have these retreats where they would get together and like just like smash each other.
Was Ray Dalio there?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Because that's exactly what you think of, right? You just
No, but what
idea of meritocracy in its purest form, it seems.
What he said was like, the last thing we took into account was someone's feelings, especially mine as the founder.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, God, it's so right. Like not carrying, like setting aside how you feel about the thing or whatever to actually figure out what is best, what wins, like what's actually right here.
Yeah.
Like, how do I think about this? And like to get to the best place, you have to be able to be unfiltered. You have to actually make the decisions without caring about like that person's perception of the way you accidentally kind of said that thing. And it's like, no, I'm just going to say it so we can talk about it and try to figure it out here. Like,
that's right.
And just obviously we have so much of a history of like knowing how important that is and valuing that. But the fact that it was like just reiterated through him, like, that it just, you cannot care about people's feelings. You have to care about what's right and what's best and like what actually makes sense.
Yeah.
What's reasonable. The other thing that I thought was really fascinating, right? And it's funny because I feel like I kind of manufacture projects. So I don't know. We'll see. Who knows? But he said like from the perspective of he's retired, he's done.
Yeah.
Stepped down as chairman of the board.
Yeah.
And, getting to do all these cool things. Talks about like going to the movies with Bill Gates, like just all kinds of whatever, like just crazy stuff. Right.
You're right.
And, he like looking back on it all. And as he was even thinking about like writing the book, he said like above all, the thing that like more than anything in the world, he wished that he could relive the entire process, like every single moment of the struggle.
Yeah, right.
It's like he's cush, got everything you want, whatever, and he's just like, but the glory in the struggle, and just And so it is something that's kind of encouraging in the midst of it to be like, a guy on the other side of financial success is looking at it like, but to only be fighting again like that. Is like what he wishes he could somehow manufacture and create, but he can't.
I mean, that's just so. How many people have we heard that we look up to for all sorts of different reasons, whether in like business acumen or whatever? And it's just like, obviously the first one I thought of was Gary Vee when you say something like that.
Oh yeah,
like
the struggle is my oxygen.
Oh
whatever.
my goodness, he just talks about you got to fall in love with the process.
Yep.
You have to be obsessed and fall in love with the process and love it. And I think it was really interesting. It's interesting that you say it as just like that's how he reiterates it, or that's how he expresses it as he gets to the end of the book, or as he's explaining for him what he wishes he could do again. And I actually think that at the beginning of the book, he makes a reference to, obviously he didn't want his life to be about respectability or like the idea of respectability. And he's searching for what is important to him. And I think what you described there is what he ultimately unpackages for defining the term play to him. Because that's what it meant to play.
It was the sport of it.
It was the sport of it.
Oh, yeah. No, and that was the culture.
Like, what does he mean? It's almost like, what does he mean by play? Because he starts to say some things about it, but
total effort.
Yeah.
Like what? Because he says this at one point is like, no matter the human enterprise, and this is what like summed up Nike and the culture within the company and like what they were about, both like in PR, imaging, and as a company. No matter the human enterprise, total effort, competing as if your life depended on it, is always incredibly inspiring and uplifting. And so it's like you're moved by someone like laying it all on the line to perform.
Yep.
And it's like it's total effort.
That's fantastic. That's absolutely fantastic. What about for you, Jeremy? What about for you as you read through that? There's just like so many different things that you could point to, I'm sure, but to be like, these are the things that I've really I would want another person to walk away from having read this, make sure that they get this and understand this.
I mean, to me, like it is just incredibly encouraging that a company like Nike, that like, for me, I don't know, it does inspire me. Like just the brand itself, it has an ethos about it that's, or pathos, whatever. It's got this feeling about it that's very successful. It's on the best athletes. It's
totally,
and it's almost, I don't want to say godlike, but it's just like, it's a brand that you can't imagine it not existing. I can't imagine Nike not existing.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. Yeah.
And to like this story, it takes it back to its humanity and how it really was as simple as some guy getting on a plane and walking into a boardroom with a bunch of Japanese manufacturers and tell them I want to sell some shoes. And it's that it's literally that simple.
Yeah.
And
like anybody can change the world with that.
Yes. Like it literally, you can grow something so big and just hard to imagine not existing from something so small. It's really hard to imagine that there was a point in time when Nike was so vulnerable and small that literally like one person on the East Coast who, they call the Marlboro Man could threaten to stop Nike from being in existence.
Like as a competitor.
Had an agreement with the company that Blue Ribbon had an agreement with. Also, at the same point, and it's like they get past that. They finally get past that. And then the next thing you know, they're in a lawsuit with the manufacturers of the Tigers, Onitsuka. And at that point, it seems like there's no way they're going to survive. Like the court's going to rule that, they've been not upholding their agreement. And it's just like over and over again, like unsurmountable odds. They overcome. And some of it's like, you just know in the back of your mind, when you're reading it, oh, Nike exists in the future. Right. So you have you have the benefit of having the foreknowledge.
Yeah.
But we don't have that benefit when we're in business, It's like it seems like you're in a fight where, you could get a knockout punch at any minute,
Yep.
So
I love the point and specifically about just the humanity of it is established.
Mm-hmm.
Like the relatability of it is established. Mm-hmm. That's the thing that I think
that he really is like a normal dude.
The example of like I think a lot of people assume when you have a business that's like Nike, that's just this, it seems like an irreplaceable company that's just this, how could it not exist?
Mm-hmm.
You can't even think of the world in which Nike doesn't exist. The company is just like, that's weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
But to see it at its beginnings and to see it as this, this isn't some sort of like trust fund dude or just some guy who had a ton of money and stumbled upon it thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is wrote a paper about it in college, had to borrow $1,000 from his dad so he could take the trip where he could do the pitch. And those are the beginnings of it.
Yep.
It wasn't anything that was this big. He had it made no matter what. It was a constant struggle for years from the beginning.
Right.
There was this grind that he was obsessed with it.
Yep.
To see it succeed.
Yep.
But that's where a place like Nike comes from.
Exactly.
That's where a business like Nike comes from.
That's how it can get so big.
Yeah.
Like it can't get that big. It can't be that successful if it's not used to struggle.
Yeah.
Because by the time if you start with all the money and then you try to grow, guess what happens? You hit struggle. And if you're not,
plenty of people with money can hit that moment and still learn how to deal with it.
Sure.
They can.
Yeah. Right.
But the idea that, you don't have extreme adversity and struggle, or that it's just, it's all handed to a person and that's how they achieve this great success.
Yep.
Far from it. It's actually, what a great example that is regarding the amount of success, especially monetary success that a business can have or a company can have.
Yep.
Directly related to years of adversity from the beginning.
Yep.
Well, even like Phil Knight, the early on, like he's an accountant, like a full-time accountant and managing Nike. Like nobody's thinking about that right now.
Yeah, right.
Like, Nike was a side hustle, but it wasn't a side. It was his main hustle, and then he subsidized his life with his 40-hour week job.
Yep. No, that's right. After he had sold encyclopedias door to door or whatever he tried.
Yeah. That was kind of
so
funny.
much about that. That made me think of like when I was doing the door to door sort of selling. I think I sold coupons for like O'Reilly or AutoZone or something.
Seriously?
Oh yeah. No,
Wow.
I like the door to door stuff. So that was just, it made me obviously not the same scale. But just the relatability of it was still this. Just I remember doing that kind of thing.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I did think it was pretty interesting because, like, okay, he did not do well with the door-to-door encyclopedia stuff.
No.
But then he worked at the securities company.
Yes.
And basically said that, like, he actually found success in selling there, and learning to sell was actually a big piece of like building him out as a businessman. Because kind of like we talked about how there are all these different dimensions to like what you have to be able to do to run an effective business and all the different departments that you're managing and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Until you get that selling part right, you don't have that sales department where you can manage them and know that they're doing their job like they should, And so it's interesting because I was thinking about Kiyosaki going to Xerox and like all this different, and how everybody who is successful in business, it's like they have to have selling, most of them as a key piece.
Have to.
Yep.
Strange how much it does feel like there's a lot of overlap between Kiyosaki and Phil Knight as people.
Well, they were both in Hawaii around the same time.
Huh? Is that true?
I mean,
Yeah. No, I guess that's got to be true on the timeline.
Kiyosaki grew up in Hawaii. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yep.
Both went to the military. Both did sales.
Think Kiyosaki, he ever got good at surfing?
I would assume.
Probably did.
I would assume so.
Phil said he picked it up pretty quickly.
Surfing. It can't be that hard, right?
So.
Just kidding. I'm like the least coordinated person on the planet.
Oh my goodness.
It is. There's a certain humor. I thought something funny about like how stylish like Nike is, and that it was made by a bunch of accountants. Like, like this is not Scream accountant.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Well, for you, Aaron, so far, like what were the things for you, like your biggest?
I love the relatability even from the beginning. I think for anybody who wants to set out to read, like they love storytelling. They love, if they're interested in history, if they're interested in business. That book, I love that we started with that one for this whole idea of just like Maven book club type thing that is reading through that book, because he's an exceptional writer. Yep. Like a storyteller, like a storyteller. Like I think that actually speaks to the success of Nike as a business, because it was a business model. It's more about telling a story. That's their marketing. That's why they went with guys like Jordan. Like even when it came to like, little sidetrack here, but Ken Griffey Jr. was a person who just like, nobody was wearing baseball style shoes. Okay. Until Ken Griffey Jr. hits the scene and he's like winning an MVP, and they have to get Ken Griffey Jr. to sign with him, to sign with them. And all of a sudden it's like stylistically, you have like a baseball player who is putting out shoes that the general public actually is interested in purchasing.
Yeah.
But it was always about like, you're telling a story about a person. That's why it worked. Like with MJ, it was always about just like Mike. If I could be like Mike. Well, why do you want to be like Mike? Because he's unstoppable. He refuses to lose.
Yep. Oh yeah. Well, and even before that,
that's the story of Nike.
Did you get to? Did you get to the point? Did you get to the stuff about Pre?
Oh man,
the runner
Pre was,
because that's absolutely like
barely.
That's where it started.
I barely got into the beginning.
No, and we don't have time to get in all that, but that's that kind of like spirit of the total effort competitor, right? Like the reason they loved Pre was because, like, against the advice of his coaches, he would put everything into every race every time.
Yeah.
He wasn't a pacer. Like he didn't pace himself, or it was.
And everybody thought it was a terrible idea, but like he had to. That was how he ran. So I mean, good stuff.
That makes all this. I think the relatability, the storytelling. I just think it's an incredible. I mean, obviously, I'm just a third of the way through the thing, but being a third of the way through the thing, it's so apparent that it's just incredible storytelling, very informative regarding just like his business acumen related to these particular experiences that he can point to, and the relatability of that and how you can learn from that. I just think it's just anybody that it's like a must read, I think, for anybody who's like business related or just
like, no, you can do it. Like anybody can do it. I think it's that kind of book. It's definitely.
Yes. Especially, I mean, how good is it for people? Because so many people tend to give up. Tend to give up when hardship comes. There's like terrible circumstances.
It must have been a sign. Must have been a sign that that's wasn't supposed to be.
Must have been a sign that wasn't supposed to be. Must have been a sign that like maybe you need to try harder.
Yep.
Maybe you need to dig a little bit
deeper.
Maybe
put some more effort into this whole thing.
Maybe there's some stuff that like you can learn from other people because you're wrong. You know, it's a list of stuff. Yep. It's just. It's great for people to learn those lessons, especially people who are, in the middle of terrible circumstances, or just they want to start their own business, or they've tried starting their own business, and it's like they keep, hitting. It's like hitting against a wall that you can't break through.
Yep.
But I think it's very apparent, just even a third of the way through that book, how great that is.
Yep.
So
cool.
It's very interesting. Nike to this day still holds true to that whole like the person kind of thing. Did you know that I think it's Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Oh yeah.
He has a line with Nike.
I didn't, but I believe it.
Kevin Hart has a line. With
Nike. I didn't know that Kevin Hart does. Yeah.
And like they have their own logo.
It's about there's like a story. It's just like something about the person. They, in particular, like motivational people.
Yeah, inspiring people.
Inspiring people. That's what they hang their hat on.
Yep.
And it's probably a pretty good marketing campaign to do that because it affects people. It moves people.
Yep.
So somehow we have to do that in real estate.
We'll figure it out.
Somehow we have to do that in real estate.
I think we're moving people, right?
We've seen it. We have seen it. It's just, especially with people who just like, they don't know if they can overcome particular problems to get into like home ownership or like a terrible circumstance.
Oh, even what the lady who you got she closed last week, right?
There's all sorts of people have terrible circumstances that they're trying to get through, or they just never think. We think of people who've had like foreclosures or like bankruptcies, and they have no idea like that they could even.
Right.
How can I better my living arrangement? And to help people, we've seen people, helping them through that to where they can get home ownership or selling a place.
Yeah, and it's the mixture of like having the humility to talk to the right people, to get the right game plan, right? You get the game plan in place.
Totally.
Like, what am I doing, and what's the best next step? What's really right with that? And then the hard work. Like it's success at most anything just requires those two things. A lot of them.
Which to Phil Knight was play. It's a pretty good perspective to have on that, though. It's just of all the words to choose.
That's plan.
For that to be, as opposed to, it's funny because he would say play, and Gary Vee would say grind.
Yeah.
They're talking about the same thing. They're talking about the same thing when they say it.
That's right.
So, all right. Well, hey, thanks for joining us, Maven Show.
Right. Yep.
Appreciate y'all.
Peace.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Yep. Thanks for watching The Maven Show. Be sure to subscribe to our channel for all the latest clips and episodes. Also, comment below with what you thought was the most interesting or helpful from this video. And if you want to help us out, please like and share our posts on social media. Thanks so much.